Hello YouTube, just going to show you something today. It's a hydraulic boat hoist. I think you'll find pretty interesting. It's the only one I've ever seen, and I found it near Kinesis Lake and the Finger Lakes at a yard sale. They were cleaning house, found a few hoists. This one was in pretty bad shape, and it took me a while to figure out actually how it worked. It's called a Hydrolift by Blanding Industries. So I did some research, and I'll put some information in the description. I found the patent for it. I think it's been expired, and I did look up the inventors, and did find somebody that fit the description in Horseheads, New York, on YouTube, but never got a reply. I believe the father worked at Corning, somewhere down there, and was an engineer. Pretty amazing thing, and it takes a little bit to get your head around how it works, but I've had a little bit of issues with it, but I've been able to get it working. I've used it for a couple of years now. Had to replace a couple of parts on it. Most everything is, well, I call it unique to it. These castings in the corners, 5-inch PVC tubes. That's a tough size to find. I paid $100 for one of them because one was shot, and the cap. You know, some of the aluminum extrusions aren't bad, but some of the sheaves, the pulleys inside are unique, and I had to have a couple made. So anyways, let's take a look at it. So the first thing you'll notice is it's got 4 corners and a frame. So what it does is it fills with water in each one of these, let's call them cylinders, and the piston is stationary. So that's the first thing to get your head around. These pull up, let's say, the frame. So your boat sits on the frame itself, and there are cables and pulleys or sheaves underneath that keep it level. So that means all 4 legs go up or down at the same time. And we'll go under here and take a look at one. This is one I just had to have made out of aluminum. The originals were plastic or phenolic, and they didn't seem to last. It sits in the water most of the time, so you got to make something reliable. There's the cables go across the other side, so they zigzag from down in the bottom here, come up, come around the pulley, go along here, crisscross, go up, and they connect to the leg, which would be holds the piston, and that's this guy right here. These are free floating in there. They have a piston on top and a hose. This is a garden hose. It goes up through the center, and it fills the top of the piston. There's a hole. It fills the top of it, which is sealed tight with an O-ring in the cylinder, and as the water fills up the cylinder, it pushes up on the tube or pushes down on the piston, however you want to look at it, on all 4 corners. So we have a couple of Y connections in here, and all 4 hoses go to each piston, so they get the water equally. If they don't, it doesn't matter so much because the cables take up the difference, so it'll always go level. If one takes more pressure, it'll the cables take the pressure off it and put it on the other legs. So most hoists work that way. There are also adjustable bottoms to the legs, as you can see, so we can level the frame in the water. So we level the frame with the water, and the shoreline here is a little slopey, so I have the front of the hoist up higher than the back. So that's because it's shallower near the shoreline, and we want to keep this level. So we just pull the boat on it, And by the way, we can fit the pontoon on it, no problem. I figure it lifts about 2,000 pounds. All right, so let's talk about how it works. So we have a two-way valve. I just got one at Home Depot. We have the water coming in from the hose, 50 to 60 psi. I think it's 10 gallons per minute, something like that. And then we have a two-way valve here where we can turn on the water to the hoist or drain it. So that's how you let it out. When we turn on the water, all four of the pistons and cylinders start filling up with water, and then it starts to go. So we'll see the legs go up. Because they're not a perfect seal, you'll see some water coming out. And also, once it reaches a certain height, and there are 3 stops on the way up, this will latch in. So there are little notches in the side of either side here of these 2 rear legs, and that locks the hoist in so it sits overnight. If you didn't have that, it would probably drain out and the hoist would just go back down over time. So you can't make a perfect piston seal with these, just the PVC's rough. Okay, so let's take a look at it. So what we're going to do is raise it up. So we've got the water turned on here, and now I'm going to turn the water on to the hoist. So we'll just put that on, and now we'll start to see slowly the legs will go down. I can already see that one going, and it'll start to hit the ground and lift the hoist. It'll lift it right off this trailer. I just use the trailer to move it around. Okay, so now it's sitting on the ground. We should start to see the hoist itself lifting off, and there we go. It's not perfectly sealed, as I said, so we got a little water coming out. We can put a little silicone or something in there to seal it. I've done that on occasion. You got to take the cylinders off. But now it starts to raise up, and we're going to see it'll click in like it just did. I heard it. So now that means it's reached its first latch. I'm going to hold it open so it gets higher than that. So we're still climbing here, and I'll show you what that hole looks like. So I can let go of it now that it's past the hole, and it'll keep going to the second stop. So here we go, and there's what that looks like. So there's a pin on either side, a square pin that latches in. So it sits on that. You just watch it going up. Figure it could probably handle 2,000 pounds, no problem. We fit a 1,600 pound pontoon boat on it without an issue. Okay, there's the second latch. So now I'm going to shut off the water, because if you don't, it'll probably pop all the hoses out, because it's kind of a design flaw. When that latch goes up, it locks in on the bottom, but when it comes down, it holds it. If you keep water in, it should have a ramp on the upper side of the pin, and then it would keep going without latching in. I don't know why it's like that. In the patent, it actually has that. It's a little ramped pin as opposed to a square one. Maybe somebody replaced it. Okay, so there's the hoist up, and it goes much higher than this. And you can extend those legs sections and get it way up. I haven't measured how tall it is, but it's up there. It's plenty for what I need. Okay, now to let it out, it's interesting. So you have to put water pressure back into it to raise it up a little bit to get it off that pin, especially if there's a boat sitting on this. Right now it probably doesn't matter, but when there's a boat, yeah, you're not going to be able to pull that latch. Okay, so let's try to lower this hoist and figure out how to do it. Typically what you would do is have to to add a little more water on it because you figure the way the boat is resting on the bottom edge here of that pin and the notch. So you can't slide this off. And there was probably a length of handle on here that's now gone. I'm gonna have to fabricate something. But anyways, you got to be able to get the pressure off this and off the other side too. So right now I'm in between, so it's off there, but as it drops, it's going to latch into that lower one, and I'm going to have to catch it before then. So the trick is, typically you would turn the water on, raise it up a little bit so the pressure's off, and then turn the water off and then open the valve to let the water out of the hoist. So I'm going to do that here. So let's pretend I already lifted it. Now I'm going to open the valve to let the water out. So that's a little bit of the water coming out of the hose. And then now I'm going to open the valve for the hoist. And now it should start lowering. So we're going to take a look at that and see that it is lowering here. The weight on it goes much faster. I'm going to hold the latch open so it doesn't lock in as it goes past that until it goes all the way to the bottom. So you don't have to hold it too long, just a little bit. Dropping pretty good now. And we should be past that locking section, so there we go. So now the hoist will just keep going down until it hits the bottom. In this case, it's going to hit my trailer because that's how I move it around. So as it slowly goes down, there's no weight on it. With weight on it, it does go a little bit faster than this. As you can see, it's almost on the trailer and done. So now I'm just going to shut off the water to it. And turn this off to the hoist. Turn that off to our hose, our drain. So now, there you go. That's how that works. One of the problems I have is I don't have a garden hose across the street to where I keep this hoist. So I had to come up with a little solution to get water to it. So here's how it works. I came up with what I think works pretty well. It's portable and it's not attached to the boat or the hoist, which are other ideas too. So what I have basically is a bucket with a rock in it, a pickup screen. I used a diesel fuel filter, stainless, and then I just used a hose from your washer and dryer, or well, the washing machine. And this is not that great. It's broken a couple times. It doesn't like the sun. I've used this for a couple of years now. It works pretty well. So all I do is I take this thing, and from the dock I just drop it in the water till it's fully submerged. And I take this and I plug it into the back of my cooler that I brought across. So this is a water pickup. It's a little PVC pipe that I have, and now we're going to look inside the cooler. And in there I have a Seaflow pump. This has 60 psi, I believe, and 7 gallons per minute. A hose is 50 to 60 and 10 gallons per minute. And I did measure that with a 5-gallon bucket a couple times. I have a battery that goes in here. It's not in here right now, but I use, you can use a car battery, 12 volt, or I actually use a lawnmower battery because it's a lot lighter. And I don't have wheels on this, so I have to carry it out every time. I have a solenoid in there to control the switch. I don't have a manual switch in it, which I should add, but right now what I have is a remote control switch, so I can actually start this up from anywhere around it. It's a radio receiver, and it just takes the 12 volt and switches it through the solenoid. It turns that on and off, turns on the electricity of the pump, and then I can turn it off. I have a quick disconnect for this, so I can hook up to my three-way valve, or two-way valve, I guess you'd say, which is the same one I've just been showing you here. I just put the other piece right here, and then there's my solution for that. I carry it over. I can leave most of it on the boat itself. I can actually mount this right on the boat. That was another thought. So, oh, there's the dog. Okay, so that's how it works.